But as we approach lunch, we now have our free reports from key parts of the CMJ ministry overseas. We're going to begin with Israel, and that's by far the longest report. And then we're going to have a brief report from our friends in CMJ Ireland. And finally, we're going to have a report from CMJ France. One of the things we've been doing during lockdown is to try and learn a second language. And some of the French report is in French. So that's an opportunity to see how well you've done in your linguistic studies. But first of all, we're going to go to our colleagues in CMJ Israel. Thank you.
Welcome to everybody. My name is Idan. I'm working in CMJ Israel within the Heritage Center. I'm married to a beautiful woman called Sarah, and together we are ministering here in Jerusalem. Originally we are from Tel Aviv, but we are blessed now to be part of the team in Jerusalem. We want to share with you a little bit updates about the work that God is doing here in Jerusalem through the ministries there. Regardless of the COVID-19, we still see a lot of really beautiful things happening around, and we hope that you will be encouraged through watching the update from Israel. So be blessed.
I remember the business was going very well. There was a lot of work. We did work hard. The business was going well, thanks God.
Before Corona, life was beautiful. Well, Beitzman was being full. We've been very busy with lots of guests since pretty much 2018. We had a nice year in 2019, and we had lots of bookings for this year.
Tourism was so intense, and there were so many visitors coming.
For the Corona, the situation was that we have seen thousands of people here every month. Some percentage of it will be tourists, and some other percentage of it will be Israelis.
Really, all three of our places were full almost all the time, putting an enormous amount of stress on our resources.
I think when we first came, it was obvious that there was lots to learn. You know, we were in a new culture, a new language, new environment, new ways of doing things, lots of new people. The few people we did know in the organisation were moving on for different reasons, and but I think we felt that we were doing well. You know, it was we weren't overwhelmed, and we were enjoying the journey, enjoying being around lots of people, and enjoying being thrown into a new adventure. But I guess, being real, perhaps come Christmas time when it came for a break, we then realised that we were probably working, you know, to capacity.
And then the unexpected happened with the coronavirus.
Until Corona hit us. And then we closed our gates on the 17th of March. That was actually the day of my birthday. I became 60. And we've been closed since.
At the beginning of the Corona crisis, we received a new Israel director, Daryl Fenton. And it's been a great joy and a great pleasure to work with Daryl and to cooperate with him and to begin planning for the future when the epidemic is over, when we will see the return of local people as well as the return of tourists. And we've been doing some praying and thinking along the way, and it's really given us a good chance to, you might say, to rethink, you know, exactly what is the Lord calling us to do, and how does He want us to do it, what's important, and how to avoid the trap that we were in just a few months previously of doing too much, you might say, with too little. It's been a very, very difficult time for us. I don't think we've gone through anything as difficult since perhaps the War of Independence in 1948.
The main problem is going to be how are we going to manage our way through a crisis where there's no money and where we have staff to deal with and where we have an organization that could be in crisis unless we take the right steps at the right time. So the brief for my responsibilities changed almost overnight.
Yeah, things were just picking up really. Sort of March, April, May, June, even most of July. Our books were really full. We were booked out most of that time. We weren't looking for more guests. So then when COVID came along, it was a bit of a shock because suddenly, I guess first week of March, suddenly our books started to empty. People started to cancel. Flights were cancelled. People started to cancel. Groups started to cancel, and so very quickly we lost all of our bookings.
But we have a huge number of local people who come to see the church and come to find out why we believe what we believe, why the inscriptions in the church are all in Hebrew, and so on and so forth. And of course, that dried up almost immediately.
The lead up to that was difficult for us. We had children in New York on a trip. We had students in various places, and we had to get them back. There were staff that were on training abroad. They had to come back and be quarantined. So up to when the school actually closed, we were in crisis every day.
Our last tour left. We had several that tried to finish. The last one, I think, was John Atkinson's tour, which had to leave early. So by the 1st of April, we were locked down. We had furloughed almost all but a few of our employees. We were allowed to keep first 30% and then 15% of our employees employed, as long as we separated them properly and they all wore masks and some of them gloves.
No visitors, no tourists. For a while, we certainly didn't have regular congregational life. And we had many challenges. And of course, our biggest challenge was, how are we going to carry on or fulfill the calling that God has given to us?
But God was good. He carried us through.
I have to be honest, I kind of will miss this time because it has been very quiet. Tel Aviv is a very busy city, as you know. Tel Aviv is a very crowded and loud city, and yet it went very quiet for about 2.5 months. And so we've been able to do a lot of things that we could not do before.
Honestly, as volunteers, and I believe here I'm talking in the name of the volunteers, as all of us, I represent all of us, we have been very blessed being in Christchurch as a volunteer in this time of crisis, difficult times. We have been very blessed. The Lord has provided everything for us. The life now is community. We are seeing what community looks like. Very.
Okay. Now, when the threat and the risk of the COVID virus became clear to me. I was thrown back, on the one hand, on the scriptures that talk about trusting the Lord, don't be anxious. All things work together for good, Romans 8:28. But of course, from business, there's also some practical sayings. And one of those is that every crisis, if you turn it over, is an opportunity. And that's not just a business principle, it is also a spiritual principle. And the good news in this situation is the Lord has made very clear to us that there have been, and we've already begun to realize, some very extensive opportunities.
Maybe after the corona things will change a bit and we will be able to more specifically, maybe have a more defined way for people for groups specifically to visit the compound. We are considering different ways to do that and how to engage, because the point of it will be to try to enlarge our surface of contact with people as much as we can, to take advantage the existent flow of people that we have here to the max.
The epidemic was and is very challenging for us and of course for many others. But at the same time, there is a blessing in all of this, and that is because of the large number of visitors, local and foreign, coming to CMJ centers throughout the country. I think for the past few years, almost all of our staff was pretty much burned out. We were exhausted because of the demands of ministry. And Corona just pulled the plug on all of that. And many of us have gotten a well-needed rest. Unfortunately, it's come at a price or a certain cost, but we do see some benefit in what has happened, or some blessing in the epidemic, at least in terms of our ministry here in Israel. And finally,
most of my staff are on unpaid leave, and the volunteers decided to stay. We have 8 volunteers from all over the world, from Brazil to India, from South Korea to Canada, and they all decided to stay because they came here to serve, and they felt it was not right for them to leave when they can serve. And we've been serving quite a lot, actually. It's been interesting because we joined the Tel Aviv municipality on doing food distribution. So we've been able to, when everything was closed and people couldn't go out of their houses, we could, because we were distributing food with the municipality of Tel Aviv. So we were able to drive and go around to places we haven't been before, bringing food to people in need. We've been able to help the elderly in this neighborhood as well. People could not go out to do their shopping, so we were, helping them, we were giving that opportunity. One of the nicest stories about from this time of Corona was that we came in contact with a woman who just had twins after staying in hospital for 6 months. And she had twin babies. It's artificial insemination, and she's a single mother, and she just moved flats as well. So we came to help her with pretty much anything that we could. We started to unpack things for her, fixing things in her flat, and building shelves, and you name it, and babysitting. A lot of babysitting, because twins are not easy, especially the boy. Some things with me. So we've been given a lot of opportunities to share the love of God through what we do in Tel Aviv, and we always make sure that we tell people why we do these things, and so it's been a very nice opportunity to just share the love of God through Jesus in us, through to the people around us.
There is actually a few good stories, that even happening now within a situation that's considered to be slow, kind of like, or relaxed. Still, things are happening. Even a couple of days ago, I met a couple of people, one group of 3 Israelis that came, and we chatted a bit about the place. I, introduced myself, and we started chatting about the place, what this place is about, the faith of the place, and as the conversation continued, one of the ladies felt comfortable enough to actually say, I am wondering or pondering the faith in Jesus for some time already. Which was a very bold thing to say, and I think the conversation, the setting, the way we were engaging with the conversation, were giving her the confidence to be able to really open and share it, and we were able to continue the conversation from that place, where I again tried to, in a very calm and sensitive and careful way, to kind of like encourage her in the path of that. But she felt comfortable with that and felt, and we find it to be very, very important in the way we do things, that we can be trusted with people bringing out their hearts like that in a deep way, with what's going on inside of them in relation. And the same day, and now we are, she will be back. She said right away, I want to continue and talk. I think she found there, from what I understood from her, she finds there a place she can converse with about it and go through the process of her questioning inside about it and actually verbalizing it and having some response and information with the process that she can actually relate to, and she can do something with that, can actually help her to continue with the process where she's at and actually find some help with that. And in the same day, we also had the opportunity to talk with another guy that comes from abroad actually and have interest in Far East religions, and we had an open, very nice actually discussion about the meaning of faiths, different faiths, the meaning of what is God and the expression of God in the universe, and the differences between different circles of faith, and kind of like the purpose of them. And we got actually to, I was able to express to him a bit what is unique about the faith in Israel. Why is it standing above all other things, truly? And I think it took some things from it, and it was quite of a helpful conversation.
So even though it's a lockdown and there's no stuff going on, stuff's going on.
Yes, even the lockdown, things are happening, and actually maybe they're happening a bit in some sense in a better way, because we don't have other disturbance around. We can actually focus. You can actually sit with the person. That's what we do. We'll sit for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, as long as it takes. And now it's even more easy to do. We have less things on our way. So yeah.
One of the things we really want to see continue and to grow at Beit Brahah is the sense of prayer and fellowship together. And during COVID, particularly gave us time to begin to follow a rhythm of prayer. And so we picked up the information and some experience we had from Fawley Brennan, which is a retreat house in Wales, which I think many of our British friends will be familiar with. And so we've been taking 3 times a day to come together and pray. And some of those times we worship together, and we use YouTube to help us in our sung worship. And it's really been it's been an interesting journey, sort of doing something that for some of us is familiar and for others it's less familiar. It's just been really good. So it's been something we've been really enjoying doing, and looking at ways how we can include that, I guess, in our life of Beit Brahah as we go forward, really, for our guests who come. So as we come out of lockdown here in Israel, we're beginning to spread the word that we're open again. We're open for business. Very encouraging local people to come, local ministries in the land in particular, who have staff team, volunteer teams to come and retreat and take time at Beit Brahah, enjoy the weather and the Galilee, but also congregations and individuals. I think typically probably about 10% of our business has been Israelis, and so 90% is international visitors coming to see the land. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but we're really praying that this season will be an opportunity for Israelis to discover CMJ, particularly to discover Beit Brahah and the beauty of the Galilee. Come and join us. There's an opportunity there to see business grow, but we're really praying because it's a difficult time, and we want to see Beit Brahah become stronger, come through this difficult time. It's a financial challenging time. So we're really praying there. We see guest numbers grow. That will take us through the rest of 2020, and trusting as we go into 2021, we'll see our international guests return. I think if you were to pray for us now, we're really asking that people pray that we become much more known amongst the believers in the land, that people will find us, they will come and stay. We're called Beit Bracha, a house of blessing, and our experience so far is that people really do come and are blessed. They come and take time. It's a place where people just relax. It's family, it's home. But they get to relax with the Lord, to hear His voice, to be refreshed, to visit the sites. And we really want that to be something that the believers in the land and unbelievers alike can come and enjoy Beit Bracha and to learn something about the mission of CMJ in Israel. Also to pray that financially the Lord blesses us. You know, there's that time when you look in your wallet and you've got more money than you thought because God's doing a miracle in your wallet. And we somehow are just believing that God's doing a miracle with the finances, and because He loves the ministry that we have here. So we always need volunteers. So whether people are inspired and feel God speaking to them, they can be thinking about volunteering. Back end of this year, certainly into 2021 and 2022, might sound a long way off, but we need volunteers. But people can be praying about whether the Lord wants them to come and volunteer. They could be praying for local people to come and discover Beit Bracha and visit. They can be praying about whether the Lord wants them to give personally to Beit Bracha and to the ministry of CMJ in Israel.
We also have an opening to have a Messianic believer to come and do dance workshops as a way of also bringing, I guess, dance therapy to people and to bring healing and to bring a way of expressing themselves in worship to God. And so we've just entered into liaison with her about that, and we're looking to do that and to use the contacts that we have. It also is a possibility of bringing Arab and Jewish believers together in that setting as well, and it's a way of blessing the lady who will be doing the dance, because we don't want to ask for anything from her, but just to come and for her to be blessed by using what we have at Beit Bracha, but then also as a way of bringing others into Beit Bracha to be blessed and to be able to just move deeper in a relationship with God in a way perhaps they've never thought of before.
Once a month on a Sunday night, we host a worship night.
Saturday night, actually.
Once a month on a Saturday night, we host a worship night with local believers. That's really developing into a wonderful time of open worship, but also a time of ministry to pray and encourage one another. And we really want to be an encouragement to the local believing community. And we really love for Arabs to join with us. We have some Arab connections in our staff, and part of our heart is that we'll be a blessing to both the Jewish and the Messianic community, but also to the Arab believers, of which there's many in the north. We have a German group that come amongst us in the autumn, and they brought some survivors from the Exodus ships. And the Exodus ships were people who left Europe. They were just young people or children after the Second World War trying to get to Israel. And the ships got to the coasts of Israel and were sent back. And we met two couples who were on those ships as young people, and they now live down at North Guinnessar. They're not believers in Yeshua as yet, but they came and joined us for dinner one night. And that was an amazing privilege, in a sense, to receive them. They joined us for our Shabbat, for the Kiddush, for the blessings. They were amongst us as we worshipped together and as we gave thanks to God. And it was just really, really an amazing evening, and just a very special part of many of the ministries that do come to visit us, that they're looking to reconcile, they're looking to join hearts between people from different parts of Europe and the land of Israel. And that stands out for me as one of a very special night we had.
Yeah, we've also had people who have come, and it's just been a place of healing. We had one particular young lady who had two two traumatic situations where she'd lost loved ones, and one was while she was actually with us at Bethlehem, and we were just able to pray for her and to just help her to feel part of us while we were there. And I think God used us to be part of the healing and part of an immediate support for her there while she was with us, and it was a privilege just to be part of that for her, and very special time.
But two things happened that were really, really special. And again, we appreciate the prayer support that enabled those to happen. First, the Mercy Fund is blossoming in a way that it's never done before. And there was a certain revival of the Mercy Fund under the leadership of Kyra Niebuhr. But now our new Mercy Fund coordinator, Naama Smith, has really taken our work to some very new and exciting places. And by exciting, I mean that she combines a lot of wisdom and experience, and knows how to get people help, not only practical help, but help folks in the long term. I'm sure we all know the saying that it's a wonderful thing to give a man a fish, but it's even more effective and more noble to teach someone how to fish. And that's what Naama is doing. She's teaching a lot of people who are poor or who perhaps are undertrained or underemployed. She's teaching them how to improve themselves, to improve their job prospects, to get the social benefit that actually they deserve under the law. And she's been quite amazing in that regard. So let me tell you a few stories. There's a homeless Muslim woman who has autism, and she has been sleeping rough. Sometimes we caught her sleeping in the reception of Christ Church or in the foyer of Christ Church. And it turns out that this woman has been rejected by her family. She has no home because of her emotional state, and she's also obsessive compulsive OCD. And the guest house has, you might say, adopted her, and Naama, together with some legal help that she's received, is going to get this woman a house or get her housing as well as a stipend from the government. Now, of course, this has created quite a buzz all over the Old City, or at least our part of the Old City. What are we doing helping a Muslim? And people have commended us, but other local people have also said, she's trying to trick you. You shouldn't be helping Muslims. You should only be helping Christians. But we think it's quite a significant and important witness. We have been helping believers, Christians, Arab Christians, Jewish believers, with rent or electricity bills. We've been helping folks with food, and I think it's been quite effective and even very powerful. Some of the Jewish believers, together with Arab believers on the staff here, have gone through the Old City, giving food packets and practical help to people. We are getting folks training, such as training with computers as a way of helping their job prospects. And when the economy does return, we want them to get better jobs. We do have in this country, like the United Kingdom, we have social benefit, we have unemployment benefit, but in our case, these benefits are quite, they're low. They're not very, very generous. Israel is not as wealthy as the United Kingdom. So in many lives, the Mercy Fund has made an impact. I think the other thing that's been really kind of wild and unexpected in all of this corona pandemic is the broadcasts that we've been doing, putting our services and Bible studies up online. And we had some help from an American organization that came to us and said, why don't you put your services, or why don't you broadcast your services, and we will spend money on advertising on social media, which they did. They spent, I think, $5,000, and that was to advertise our services during Easter. It was a very steep learning curve in a way, or something that we had to learn very quickly, and I'm very grateful to the staff here. And if this sounds nepotistic, I'm sorry, but I'm very grateful to my son Benjamin, who organized these broadcasts, who edits them, and who puts them online. But during Easter week we had 75,000 viewers. It was Holy Week and just beyond. And many of these viewers, which was quite exciting, they came from Morocco or Iran or Turkey or Egypt, and that was very, very encouraging. We've gotten a lot of mail and prayer requests, as well as some support from the Mercy Fund as a result of these broadcasts. We're going to continue to broadcast, even though we've had some technical problems with the internet and more. We're hoping to solve these problems soon, but many folks in the UK, especially when you were in lockdown, did, quote-unquote, tune in, or did listen to the services online, and we're very, again, we're very grateful for your support.
Then when the school closed, that's when the big crisis came, but we were well prepared, because we've been working on virtual learning environment for a long time. So we were able to provide online learning for all of our students, even the elementary, and even down to preschool, they were having Zoom lessons. So that's been good. But then we came back, and it was a challenge, because students had to be in what they call capsules here, and the capsules didn't have to meet. So that was a big challenge. So everyone had to have different breaks, and they didn't have to mix. The problem with that was you saw them all walking home together. And so, but nevertheless, we were following the regulations. We also saw them car sharing with different parents, but nevertheless. But you know what? What's so amazing is God protected this school. While other schools were closing throughout Israel because the virus broke out, we stayed safe. Every morning the prayer meetings continued. Every day we said, God, please keep us safe, and he did. To date, we're all pretty tired now. We'll break up next week. It's countdown. I'm exhausted. Looking to September or end of August when we come back, I would ask for your prayers with regard to whether or not we will open. They're talking of a second wave. If a second wave comes, that means we're online learning again. That means some of our students won't be able to come back if they've gone abroad. So my prayer is that you would pray for us, that we will be able to open on time with all of our staff, especially new staff. They need visas. They haven't got them. That we have all the visas, that we're able to open on time, and that we're able to run the school without online learning, that it will be face-to-face in the classrooms, business as usual. But so far, thank you for praying.
Well, prayer is a big thing. We need that because as a guest house, no guests, no income. No income, no money. And we still have salaries to pay, even though most of my staff are on unpaid leave, but they can only be until probably the month of July. We still have taxes to pay and electricity. We've been doing everything we can to save money, to not to spend extra or money with electricity, for example. So finances is a big thing. In my heart, In my heart, I know God will provide. In my heart, I know everything is going to be fine. But my brain has to run the place, and we have to be good stewards of what we have. So I'm struggling with that at the moment, between the brain and the heart. So I need to do like that man who comes to Jesus, the father, whose daughter was sick, and said, "Help me in my lack of faith." So I think that's my prayer request, is that God will provide for us, and that I will not have to struggle of lack of faith.
So the way people in CMJ, our friends, can be involved and support what's going on, and I think it's in two ways. One of them is obviously in prayer, in influencing and helping us, impacting the spiritual reality in Israel, the situation, which is, really to continue and pray that people's hearts will continue to be softened up, as we see happening in our society, that it will continue to be so, that God will continue to open the doors for us to be in a center of engagement with people. And I think the second part will be praying for CMJ particularly, which is not just for the situation in Israel, but really for CMJ to grow, for us to be able to go farther and farther in the way we are engaging with people, that we will, be able to go deeper and deeper, I would say, into the heart of our society, and to be able to really learn and be able to really touch in the heart of society, to be able to find our way into the heart of society, and to be able to be a voice of peace, of wisdom, of strength, basically for God to be reflected through us, and for us to be able to be located in the heart of our society. So we'll end up impacting lives of people around at the end of the day. That's what it's about. It's about changing people's lives.
So again, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for the support that you've given us over the years, but especially over the past few months. And I really can't think of a better group of friends and supporters than those of you who are members of CMJ UK, and those of you who support that ministry, because by supporting that ministry, you're a vital lifeline that is keeping us alive here in Israel. Thank you very much.
What about our long-term partnership with the work of CMJ in Israel, all the investment we've made, and all the prayers, and all the years? I want to reassure you that troubles are temporary. And troubles, at least in my experience, tend to deepen affection and commitment and partnerships, not weaken them. But there can be exceptions. But I can assure you from this side, if anything, we are ever more appreciative of the resources we've had that you all made possible by the vision that was supported by CMJ UK for the last 177 years that CMJ in Israel has operated for whatever reason and whatever way. It's no secret among the staff at CMJ UK headquarters and among many of you who've got to know me in recently past conferences that I have a deep affection for the UK, for its work, and for the country, and for all of you. My prayer is that in these years ahead, not only are you part of a partnership with us, helping us do our work better here in Israel, but there are ways we can provide resources to all of you that will strengthen your ability to bear witness to the Jewish people who remain, to strengthen them in the face of sometimes rabid anti-Semitism, that will allow us to be able to encourage you in your mission in the UK in the same way you encourage us in our mission here. I must tell you, the Zoom prayer meetings have been a blessing to all of us on the senior management team who've been part of those Wednesday night prayer gatherings every other fortnight. The prayers that have gone up and continue to go up, we're grateful for. Some really generous giving that's come our way for the Mercy Fund. We're grateful for that. And we know that you, like us, are going through a hard time. Isn't that what the household of faith, the body of Messiah, the followers and disciples of Jesus have always done in hard times? You know, it was in those very early centuries when most of what we called the church were Jewish believers in Jesus, and they went through, in 2 centuries, 2 brutal plagues. And the church historians tell us that at the end of those 2 centuries of plague, the Roman Empire had become, and particularly Rome itself, had become largely believers in Jesus. Why was that? It was because disciples of Jesus, mostly Jewish disciples of Jesus, some Gentiles, had faithfully looked after those in need, even at the risk of their own lives. And all of the upper class Romans had fled. And all the pagans who could afford to flee had fled. But the Christians stayed, and the Christians served in the city. And the Christians brought, and nursed all those back to health, all those who had survived the plague. And what happened? Rome became an empire of people who steadily became more and more followers of Jesus. That's what we're doing together here. We're here among a people who don't recognize our Messiah. And together with all of you, we're still proclaiming that Messiah to them. And that's the same calling of CMJ in the UK. It's the same calling of CMJ around the world. It continues to be the same calling for all of us here in Israel.
Well, we thank our friends and colleagues from CMJ Israel for their report. There's obviously a very strong bond between the UK and Israel, and there's also a very strong bond between myself and Darrell, the new Israel director. So we're looking forward to build on that in the months ahead. We have an international conference in November, and again, is how we can work together, different parts of CMJ, to make sure the work continues to grow and supports each other for the benefit of the whole. So we're going to be exploring those issues in November. But we thank our colleagues from Israel, and now we're going to move to our nearest CMJ group in Ireland. And we have a good partnership with CMJ Ireland, and we're going to hear their brief report and then a final report from France.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one.
It's lovely to join with you this year at the UK Virtual Conference to bring an update from Ireland. This year, CMJ Ireland celebrates its 210th anniversary. We have a rich heritage, and thank God for the vision of those Irishmen who played strategic roles in CMJ's early history, and also for those who've been supportive of the ministry down through the years. We're usually very busy at this time with meetings and exhibiting at Christian events. And as you can imagine, the COVID pandemic has had a huge impact on our ministry, with all meetings and deputations having been cancelled. We'd hope to have Kelvin Crombie with us to speak at our spring meeting, and also the Reverend David Pileggi in June, and we do look forward to having them come to Ireland, hopefully in the near future. I would just like to share some of the main events that have taken place during the last year. We do love to have visiting speakers, and we're delighted to have Dr. Richard Harvey with us for a few days in September. Richard spoke at our autumn meeting on the topic of Jesus is Jewish, so what? And at a lunchtime meeting for clergy and those in leadership, he gave a talk on the implications of the Jewishness of Jesus for Jewish-Christian relations, which is so important in these days. It's been almost 20 years since the Reverend Pedro Santos has been in Ireland, and it was a joy to welcome him for a special CMJ Day in Coleraine. St. Patrick's Church have been very supportive of the ministry in Bedabagnol, and Pedro wanted to thank the congregation personally. He spoke at their harvest celebration, and at the end of the service presented Canon John McCammon with a gift of a menorah for the church. It was just a short journey across the river for an evening service in Cologne Parish led by the Reverend Billy Holmes. Pedro blew the shofar to mark the beginning of Rosh Hashanah and shared some wonderful stories with us. When he noticed that there was a spare guitar at hand, he also joined in with the worship band as well. We received wonderful hospitality at both churches and a great day of blessing for all. Our third Bible Come to Life exhibition took place in Willowfield Parish, a vibrant evangelical church in Belfast, led by the rector, the Venerable David Maclay. The exhibition got off to a great start with over 200 people attending on the first evening, and the church was really buzzing with life. 5 schools attended the exhibition during the 3 days, and it was open in the evenings to the public, and also on Saturday. On Friday evening, 3 large groups from Willowfield's Kids Club came to learn about Shabbat. And the young ones, they danced the night away singing Shabbat Shalom. We spent a wonderful 3 or 4 days with Paul and Janie and the UK team, and we do pray that the seeds sown will bear fruit, and we look forward to having more exhibitions come to Ireland in the future. CMJ is a member of AMS, the Association of Mission Societies in the Church of Ireland, and along with the other mission agencies, we had a stand at the Church of Ireland General Synod last year. Unfortunately, this year's synod, due to take place in Dublin, has been cancelled. Together we have taken part in the diocesan mission evenings and events, and including the Advent Carol service, Light in the Darkness. And there are plans underway for a pre-recorded service to be broadcast on RTE Irish Television later this year. CMJ's annual service of remembrance was one of many events that took place to remember Holocaust Memorial Day, and this year to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. In his reflection, Canon John McCammon shared some thoughts on the reasons for the Holocaust and the persistent rise in anti-Semitism throughout the centuries. But he also reminded us that the Lord will never go back on his covenant promises or abandon his chosen people, for that would dishonour his great name. Passovers are always popular events, and we had our first Passover with the ladies of Ballyholme Parish just before lockdown was imposed. And since then, the committee have been using this time to reflect on the way forward, to strengthen our links with supporters, churches and prayer groups, and to increase our presence on social media. Using Zoom, we have been able to hold committee meetings and prayer meetings, and also to connect more with our colleagues in the UK and Israel. And in August, we hope to take part in the Global Village at the 2020 Virtual Bangor Worldwide Missionary Convention, an important event in the missionary life in Northern Ireland. Things are uncertain as we face what will become a new normal, and it's difficult to see and plan ahead. But plans are already underway for churches to gradually reopen, and we do hope to be able to carry out our autumn deputations. and if possible to hold meetings in Belfast and Dublin later this year. We are a small team of trustees, members, parish reps and volunteers, and we would love to have more people join with us to promote the ministry throughout Ireland. We thank God for his faithfulness and provision for us, and we value your prayers as we seek the Lord's wisdom and direction as we look at possibilities and opportunities to share the message of hope that is found in Jesus the Messiah. The Irish blessing, Be Thou My Vision, invites us to lift our eyes and our vision beyond ourselves to the Lord in these uncertain and challenging times and into a greater awareness of his presence with us. May the Lord send renewal, revival to Ireland, to Israel and to his world. And now over to Canon Jane.
High King of Heaven, my victory won, may I reach heaven's joys, O bright and sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Okay, well, we thank our colleagues from Ireland, and that's always great to hear from our Irish colleagues. We've got our final report now, which is a brief report about the important work of CMJ France, and Jane Moxham is going to speak into that. So I'm going to welcome Jane, and then I'll just come back very briefly at the end and give a little bit of housekeeping news about lunch and about how we're going to reconvene in the afternoon. But now, CMJ France.
Merci Alex. Bonjour à tous. Ça va? I really know that the work in CMJ France, which I do as part of my CMJ job, is a work of God, because actually I can't speak French. But we have been going there for 10 years, 11 actually, but 10 years of conferences should have meant this year was our 10th anniversary conference. Next year, 2021, is going to be 2020 take two. So does that make us a year younger? I don't know. But it's going to be really exciting. And here are some of our stalwarts, CMJ France supporters, who have been with us since the beginning, since 2010. And I hope as we go through, you'll recognize some of them. I will just say Colette, our treasurer, is in the middle there. And we invite you to pray for the Jewish community of France. It's the largest community of Jewish people after Israel, America, then it's France. They need our prayers. And the churches need the revelation of the Jewish roots of their faith. I've gathered together a few words from different CMJ France supporters of encouragement for us, so you can get a taste of who they are. And this is Olivier Rebet. He's a pastor in Chartres.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Olivier Rebert, je suis pasteur à l'église protestante évangélique de Chartres. Je suis marié, on a 4 enfants qui sont tous adultes. Et on a été content pendant ce confinement d'en récupérer au moins un. Je connais CMJ depuis que je suis arrivé à Chartres, en 2013, grâce à nos amis Bruno et Inam qui sont très attachés à CMJ depuis longtemps. Nous avons eu la chance d'accueillir plusieurs fois des conférences d'une soirée avec souvent les orateurs des conférences en Normandie. Et puis on a pu ainsi mieux connaître CMJ et le faire connaître surtout dans notre communauté. Voilà, on vous souhaite un excellent congrès et un excellent temps. On se réjouit de pouvoir se retrouver tous ensemble.
Thank you, Olivier. That's a very warm welcome for us. And here we have Pastor David Dagneau. He's the second on the right, and he's down in the bottom of Normandy in Argenton and also Fleur. He says, we're very happy to have had CMJ 2 times in Fleur and once in Argenton. And we were enriched by the ministry of Robert Lamière. And we very much appreciate your friendship, your brotherly friendship, and the ministry of CMJ. So he asks that God will continue to bless us. Thank you, David. Inam Akrazi, he is a stalwart CMJ France supporter. He came with me to the international conference in Israel in 2016. And he's now got the responsibility for the central region, which Chartres is in, and also part of Paris. And we're now going to hear from Bruno Passerat, who again is one of our committee members. He is the secretary and looks after our website. Thank you, Bruno.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bruno Passerat. Je suis marié avec Elena et nous avons 4 grands garçons. Nous avons fait partie de l'équipe qui a remis en place CMJ France il y a un peu plus de 10 ans. Et nous sommes très contents que ça redémarre ici en France, principalement en Normandie, mais jusqu'à Chartres aussi. Depuis ces 10 années, nous avons eu plusieurs réunions et régulièrement, chaque année, pendant le mois de juin, nous avons la conférence qui réunit plusieurs églises, en espérant que ça se développe encore plus. Moi, principalement, je m'occupe du site internet que j'ai mis en place dès le début et dont j'assure la maintenance, qui présente un peu toutes les activités de CMJ France. Et nous faisons confiance à Dieu pour que cette œuvre se développe, s'enrichisse et grandisse dans tout notre pays. Voilà, je souhaite à chacun d'entre vous de participer aussi à cette œuvre parce que c'est Dieu qui est à l'origine et qui continuera à la faire vivre. Amen.
And Bruno and Helene have 4 grown-up sons. It's a great privilege to get to know these friends in France. And this is another one, Francis Dognon. He's a Baptist minister in Normandy, France. We met him first in Lisieux, and he's also responsible for a fellowship near Honfleur and another one in Rouen. And he's planting churches in Normandy. You can read for yourself how he's married to Diane, who is English, which is very handy for us, for me. And they have been with us since the beginning and hosted various conferences, you can see, and they do their best to help us and support us. I asked him what his message of hope would be for us, and he said, we need to look to Jesus more than ever. I'm confident that God is in control of everything, even if we don't understand our circumstances right now. That's a really lovely message. Thank you, Francis. And I just want to say that our work in France is very small, but it's a very necessary work. I told you that France has the 3rd highest Jewish population in the world. And Normandy we've been into, we felt at the beginning, I felt it was right to go small. The work, the soil in France is very hard, and it's known as the missionaries' graveyard, the whole of France. So we thought, Normandy, we would dig the ground in Normandy and become established. And then we have been out to Chartres, we've been to Paris, we've been to the Pyrenees, and we have an invitation possibility to go to Alsace. Now it's Mulhouse, which is very interesting because in 1824, when the first CMJ speakers came to France, they were right over in the east, in the Alsace area, and they did go to Mulhouse. So it would be lovely if we can go back there next year or the year after. So this work it's getting deeper. The people are committed. We've been in associations since 2010. When we first went, God gave us a picture of small wells all over Normandy. And these wells were slightly filled in, but God was opening them up. And everywhere I went, it seemed that was true, that these wells were on fire. You can go through miles of countryside, turn the corner, go into a church, and there's a lively congregation. And they receive the word about the Jewish roots of our faith with such openness. It's wonderful. So if you know French, if you want to help me find things for our website, I would really love to hear from you. So do write to me if you have an interest, a particular interest, in the work of CMJ in France. Thank you very much. Merci à tous.